When I embarked on a spiritual journey, I thought that I knew everything. I thought I was the bee's knees. I was reading these books and I was doing these practices and learning about different philosophies from people that I thought were smarter and had life realized. I thought they had it all figured out. I'm talking about yoga, meditation, breath work, mantra, all of these things that typically are the gateway into, a spiritual life. And then we start, doing the other things that we associate with spirituality, like wearing weird clothes or having a weird haircut or just being different to the mainstream, we could say. After a while of learning and practicing all of these things, I returned back to where I had originally came from and was surrounded by my old friends, old family, that type of thing. And these people didn't really care too much about spirituality. They didn't care about the personal growth and self-actualization and enlightenment and all of these things that I'd been investigating and pursuing. When I reconnected with my family, the first thing that I found myself doing was articulating the benefits of not eating meat. I had a sense of superiority around diet and knowledge of food and cooking and these things. I would watch other people and their tendencies, and in my mind, I saw that their tendencies were causing suffering and preventing them from being at peace. And I tried to change them. The irony, I would witness somebody not in peace, and then that would cause me to not be in peace. And so I would try to change them so that I could find my peace again. The thing is, I wasn't as smart or as wise as I thought I was. I may have learned some new theories and new ideas and, had an understanding of different practices, but I wasn't embodying any of it, because if I was, I wouldn't care what somebody ate. I wouldn't care if somebody listened to the news. I wouldn't care if somebody spent their whole afternoon gossiping about somebody else. Because if I had peace, then I had peace, and it didn't depend on the peace of other people. Around this time, I also decided I was going to reject money and believe that life could be lived without money. And it can be lived without money. Now, whether or not that is the best option for me, you, or anybody else is up for us to decide. I realized that I preferred to choose the option that living with no money was optimal, because I didn't have any money, and it was a lot easier to justify my lack of funds by arguing that we don't need money, we can barter, we can manifest, we can close our eyes, visualize, chant a mantra, and then have everything that we desire. I'm not saying that you can't do that. However, it may not be the best path for you. It certainly wasn't for me. I tried it for a while, a few years, and it caused me a lot of suffering, a lot of pain. A lot of great things came from it too. Around that time, I traveled a lot and lived a very free life, in a sense. I wasn't tied down to schedules or anything like this, but I wasn't stable in my foundation. I wasn't really able to look after myself sustainably. And so when I decided that I was going to enter the world of business and share my value in exchange for the value that is represented as money, I found my life got a lot better. More enjoyable for me. Better maybe isn't the best word, because what is better? Better implies there's a worse. I don't think there is worse. I don't think there's good or bad. There's just simply things that are, and they may work for you or they may not work for you. What's been working for me was building a business, taking action, posting videos on the internet like this to share different insights and different stories that I have gathered over my life and will continue to gather. A few years ago, that old version of me would look at me now and be like, how dare you? How dare you have a business and make money and work with corporate clients and brands and market things and sell products and, all of these things that go with commerce, capitalism, business. That version of me was in a paradigm that was very constricted and limited. And unbeknownst to him, he was causing himself a lot of suffering, because he was afraid to enter another world outside of what he thought was spiritual, outside of what he thought was the right way to live. Some people dedicate their entire lives to finding enlightenment. And what a beautiful quest that is to embark upon. Whether or not anybody attains it, I do not know. I certainly don't think that any amount of meditation in this lifetime would enlighten me. And so I pivoted. I left that kind of paradigm and I was humbled. I thought I knew it all. I judged so many people. I judged the world. I judged the systems. I judged myself. I judged my desires. Because while I love the idea of being able to live in a world with no money and where everything is just abundant all of the time, I also recognize that there are people living an abundant lifestyle the way the world is right now. But in order to achieve that myself, it would require risk and it would require hardship, learning, embarking on a path that I hadn't been on before. There was a lot of uncertainty that had to be confronted. And as we know, confronting uncertainty can be very scary. I was hiding behind the veil of what a spiritual life was and hindering my own progress in that process. I was unwilling to see beyond the certainty of the mindset that I had, so I remained limited and constricted. I would seek people, I would seek content online that confirmed my biases and confirmed my worldview, placing me inside an echo chamber that, unfortunately, didn't empower me. It led me down the path I was already on, which wasn't an integrated path. It didn't have the necessary elements that were required to build a life of abundance, because I was running from something. I was hiding away from an important aspect of life, an important element of the manifestation formula, which is action and trying and failing and embarrassing yourself. I thought I had it all figured out, yet I wasn't achieving anything. I wasn't getting anywhere. But I was afraid to leave, because if I did, then where would I go? What would I have to show for all of my actions? Or what would I have to show for all of the stuff that I was preaching to everybody? It's the sunk cost fallacy. And something that I've learned over the last couple of years of actually trying things and failing is that the sooner I accepted that I had failed, the sooner I got on the path to success, I must say. I mean, success is a journey. I don't believe it's a destination. We get so bullheaded and focused on one way that we're going, and we just are afraid to change it, because we're like, I've put so much effort in here. Maybe it'll pay off. Maybe it will. Maybe I would have had my dream life if I just kept on, trying to change everybody around me. But there came a point where I just didn't see the value in doing that. I knew what the outcome of that was after doing it for so many years. And what I didn't know was what happened when you tried things, when you jump into the deep end, when you approach somebody that you've never spoken to and cultivate a friendship or a relationship of some sort, when you reach out to somebody and offer them your services or your value and get money in exchange for that. What happens when you do something that you don't know what the outcome is going to be? Leaving requires you to leave a certain sense of knowing. I don't know anything. I don't know what the best way to live is. I don't know what the best way to find the relationships I want is. I don't know what the best way to make money is. I don't know how to be happy. I don't know if I'm doing anything correctly. And that's freedom. That's true freedom, because I'm not fighting for any beliefs. I'm not trying to argue one way versus another. When we're arguing for something, it means we're fighting something else. But who are we to say that this is real or this is not? My naivety led me down a path of disconnection, ignorance, and judgment. And that wasn't fair to me, and it wasn't fair to the people around me. And maybe calling it fair or unfair isn't even the most useful way to articulate what's going on here. I've learned from what I did, and I'm sure that other people around me picked up a thing or two as well. We're always unfolding, perpetually in bloom, always learning. And there's certain skills that I might have that, objectively speaking, you could say, I know how to edit better than someone that's never edited before. And that's all fine, with these arbitrary binary things. Skill is skill. But when it comes to the bigger picture and life itself, I don't know. I don't know if you're meditating the correct way. I don't know if you should meditate. I can only do what seems to work for me. And maybe I could recommend that to you. But just because something works for me doesn't mean it will work for you. We all have different ways of moving about this world. We all have different workflows. And there's something really liberating about just letting go of any sense of knowing and realizing that it's not a problem if you feel lost, if you haven't a clue what's going on. If you see someone that's doing something that you would never do, you don't even have to try to change anything about them, because it's not you who's doing it. And I think when we look at someone or something and we judge it, we're judging that within ourselves. So we have an inner assumption or belief about the thing that we're seeing on the outside, and then we project that onto that person. We see somebody with a load of money and say, oh, what an asshole. And so a question I could ask myself as well, am I an asshole if I have loads of money? And then I could ask myself, well, why am I an asshole if I have loads of money? Then I might find that there's some sort of belief there associating money to being an asshole. Or maybe I see a beautiful girl and I think, she's not nice. And then I could look inside and see, well, what is it about this person and their attributes within me that I don't perceive as pleasant? And I might find that I don't see myself as beautiful. And so when I see beauty in somebody else, I reject it because I don't see it in myself. Whereas if I feel beautiful and valuable to the world, then I see someone else who's, what I think is beautiful and valuable. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, what a beautiful being. And that's representative of how I feel. I've noticed when I'm feeling really abundant with love and friendship and relationship in my life, I can see other people on the street and there's just connections, like eyes connecting, and there's this resonance that's not normally there if I'm, feeling isolated. And it's interesting how when it rains, it pours. You have one connection and then you just start seeing them everywhere. Or if we're talking about money, it's like if business is going well one month, then the whole money game just seems so easy. And instead of looking at someone who's making a lot of money and thinking, oh, well, they probably were dishonest in their pursuit of money, it's like, oh, they have money, I have money, great. Maybe we can talk about how we made money and make even more money next time. Curiosity is the key that unlocks a free and abundant life, I believe. Now that belief might change, of course, but curiosity in its nature is unfixed because it's approaching everything with an open mind. And that's the opposite of the beginnings of this video, where I was speaking about being locked into a fixed ideology and a fixed pursuit of a destination. And so when we leave the cult, so to speak, when we leave that limited paradigm, we enter to this vast ocean, and anything is possible there. We can park up our ship, dock it at the harbor, chill with one belief system for a while, try it out, see how it goes, and then we can just lift up the anchor, untie the ropes or whatever sailors do, and continue on. But we're always in motion, we're always learning, we're always growing, and that's where liberation may come from. It's been good to have you here, my friend. Thanks. If you enjoyed this video, check out some of the other videos on the channel. There's almost 100 videos there now, and I think that you might find value in at least one of them, probably more. So check them out. Leave a comment if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you like. I have a mailing list as well. There will be a link in the description, which you can click on to join. And there's also a meditation down there for confidence and empowerment, which will probably help you to, find your own way and your own flow in this vast ocean that we call life. Take care.